What's going on, YouTube? Good evening to everybody. Hope you guys are having a good night. It's midnight over on the East Coast. It's 9 o'clock over here on the West Coast. And I thought maybe some of you were up and can't sleep. So I wanted to talk to some of you tonight and actually talk to some of the spouses of what you guys are going through. I've had an interesting conversation with a lady by the name of Lawler yesterday. And I thought it was really good timing because I know so many of you that are dealing with this situation. A lot of your spouses are also dealing with this. So I decided let's do a quick video and talk to some of you about what you're going through with your loved ones, with your spouses. Most of the time we deal with issues where it's mostly men that are the ones that are going into the prison system. But from time to time we do see women that are also going into the prison system. So this is not just for spouses being women, but spouses also just being anybody that's going through a rough situation. There is some cool links in the description of this video. Lawler, she's actually the creator of a group called the White Collar Wives Project, and there's an actual description here. I'll give you the link to the website right here. So if you guys want to come check this out, this might be, especially for those of you that are going through a situation right now, or maybe your husband's getting ready to go to prison, or you have a boyfriend or a husband or a significant other that's already in prison, and you could, in use of a support group, well, here you go. Come check out Lawler. We're probably also going to be interviewing her in the next couple of weeks. She actually just did an interview with, some of you may know, Pavlo. I think his company is 500 Pearl Street. She did an interview, and Pavlo actually did a blog on her that he posted onto Forbes. So if you guys want to check out what that is, and that's they did a blog, and it was 10 things every spouse of a white-collar defendant should know. So there's some really important topics. If you're going through a situation and it's a white-collar crime, and you are the wife or the husband of a defendant that's getting ready to possibly get indicted, facing federal charges, going to federal prison, and you want to find out what you can do to protect yourself as far as assets and things of that nature, this is a really interesting blog for you guys to check out. I'm not even sure if anyone's going to be joining us tonight. It's pretty late. I'm exhausted. I literally just got finished working. Had a couple of clients that have got some serious issues going on tomorrow, so we had to work a little bit late here to accommodate their schedule. But man, I'm so glad this is all behind me for the most part. You know, it's now dealing with it on this side of it, and just seeing what you guys are going through on a regular basis. It's such a reminder of what we went through, myself and my family. So my heart really does go out to all of you that are dealing with this. Water break. I should be drinking coffee. We did get a client sent a check to us today, and not a client, actually it's a client's mother. She sent us a check, which was really sweet, and it wasn't for our services. It was actually, her son just finished RDAP, and it was a thank you. They hired us about a year ago, and they sent us a nice little check to use to help out for somebody else that might be going through a struggle in prison. So you can see on there, she put $25, and she said for indigent fund. So we're going to use this for individuals that are in prison that are going without, that could use a couple of dollars. $25 goes a long way on somebody's commissary, guys, when they're not used to getting anything. So obviously I blacked out all of her personal info, but her name is Cheryl. So we just want to say thank you, Cheryl. That was very, very sweet of you, and we will definitely make sure we put that to good use. But yeah, if you're the loved one of somebody that's going into the prison system, you know, you're going through this right along with your husband or your wife that might be getting ready to go into the prison system. And you shouldn't feel like you're all alone. I know at several times you do. I get a lot of calls, I get a lot of emails, a lot of text messages. I just received a text message a few minutes ago from somebody that's just dealing with a lot. And, you know, you get lonely because you don't feel like there's many people that you can connect with that really understand what you're going through. That's why we really encourage, when we see groups like this, like what Lawler has going on, you know, the White Collar Wives Project, even if it's not a white collar crime, and your husband or boyfriend is going through something and you would like to be part of a group, you know, this gives you the outlet to reach out and realize that you're not alone, that you're not the only one in the world going through this. And it also gives you the opportunity to voice your opinion. You can now be heard. I know when I was going through what I went through, when I was first under investigation, going into getting indicted, I was in such a level of denial that I was constantly trying to make everybody around me believe that I was innocent and that I didn't do anything wrong and that it wasn't my fault. Very tired. You know, my kids, my fiance, Shelly, anybody that was listening, I was like, oh, you know, the government's out to get me. I didn't do anything wrong. I turned a blind eye, but I didn't understand what was happening. And I knew more than I let on. And the problem was I wasn't mad that I wasn't upset that I did wrong. I was upset that I had gotten caught. I was upset that there was going to be consequences. And it took a lot of stress and a lot of hardship and a lot of sleepless nights and 10 months of RDAP to really get it through to me that these were consequences of my actions. I could have made better choices earlier on. And I could have even after the point I committed my crime, I probably could have had a better outcome with my sentencing, or possibly looking at something like maybe probation or reduced sentence instead of receiving a 42-month sentence. But I wasn't willing to really open up and be honest. Yes, I got acceptance for responsibility. You know, I did the basic information that I needed to do, that everybody does that's going through a situation where they're going to take a plea agreement. But really, I wasn't really taking responsibility. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't putting any foot forward to make effort to show anybody that I had learned a lesson from the mistakes that I'd made. I was stuck in this victim mentality that kept allowing me to think, hey, if I keep lying to myself, maybe somebody else will start to believe me and I won't go to prison. I wanted to believe that the universe would undo this horrible disaster that it put me into. And all I really learned was good people make mistakes and you can go to prison. The problem is if you're a good person and you made a mistake, you're not really that good of a person if you're not owning it fully. If you're still finding yourself blaming, or you're mad at the government, or you think things aren't fair, or you're telling yourself, well, you know, people are out there murdering people, getting less time than what I'm looking at, you're missing the whole point. The point is you put yourself into this situation. We have a guy that he just found out today that he has his PSR interview tomorrow. He's had his, and if you're watching tonight, I'm going to use you as a cautionary tale. I'm not going to say your name, but I'm going to use you as a cautionary tale for others. You know, when you go to your PSR interview, prior to the interview, you're given a packet that you need to fill out. It's a lot of financial information. And usually you're given plenty of time to get this information filled out. Well, he's had this information for about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks now, and he has his PSR interview tomorrow, which granted he just found out today, but yet he's had the paperwork for about 3 weeks and it's not finished yet. So he's going to go in there tomorrow ill-prepared with, even if he starts to try to finish it tonight, it's not going to have the amount of work and energy that needs to go into this to really have it prepared properly. These are one of the things that we stress, is there's nobody you're not going to hire a prison consultant that is going to wave a magic wand over your situation and make it all better for you. We're here to guide and give you direction, give you assistance, give you some advice as to what you should be or what you could be doing differently to create the best possible outcome. And that means you're going to be half the one that does the work. What's going on, John Goff? Just saw you in the room. Welcome, my man. You're going to have to be the one that puts in the effort and the hard work in order to reap these results that you're looking for. So when you hire your attorney or you hire a prison consultant, that's not enough. You have to be willing to go to the next step. And also, if you're going through the situation and you have family, friends, your wife, your kids, you got to remember that you're not going through this by yourself. They are right there alongside of you going through this. They don't want to be going through this with you, but they're forced into it. And you have to identify them as what you have turned them into, which is a victim of your crime. There's absolutely no such thing as a victimless crime. I know we hear about victimless crimes where nobody got hurt, no money was stolen. There's always somebody that gets hurt when you make these choices. If you're going to prison, you're leaving one person behind. One person. That's a victim. And if you're not identifying that as a victim, it's because you're still stuck in victim mode, thinking you're the victim. So for you spouses out there that maybe you're watching this video right now or you're watching it later on, most of you are probably in bed. If you're watching this video and you're not voicing your opinion and you're not bringing this to your loved one's attention, then you're not doing yourself any favors. I was talking to a wife, might have been a week ago, and her husband's in prison. Her husband's going through a little bit of struggle, and she feels like maybe he's not telling her everything. She feels like he's going through some issues and he's causing himself some problems in prison, but she doesn't feel like he's being completely honest. And I asked her, I said, well, did you tell him that? Did you tell him that you feel like something's missing here? You feel like there's a lack in communication? She said, no, I don't know if I can get the courage to say that to him. Guys, women, men, holding each other accountable is really the only way to have an intimate relationship. If you're trying to have an intimate relationship afar, well, they're in prison and you're in the real world, and you're afraid to offend somebody or you're afraid of speaking what you really think, your relationship is already probably doomed if you're not willing to realize that that is an unhealthy thought process. And if you're not willing to work on your relationship, even if it's from your side and your perspective, if you were to say how you were really thinking or really feeling, and your spouse or loved one or your husband in prison were to get upset at that, that's not your fault. You're saying what you're thinking. He's reacting based on what you just told him, and if he or she wants to get upset, that's on them. That's their reality. You cannot control what somebody else is going to do or how they're going to react. The only thing that you control is knowing that you did everything within your power to voice your opinion in an assertive, direct manner. I'm not saying be aggressive. I'm not saying wait till you're pissed off and blow up on them. Be assertive and direct. If you can use an assertive approach and constantly say what you're thinking, eventually that person is either going to get with it or they're going to take a hike. And either way, you're going to know where you stand. If you're a spouse and you don't feel like you're being valued in your relationship, if you're a spouse of a white-collar crime and you feel like you had no idea that anything was going on, you were living this perfect little life, white picket fence, you thought everything was going great, and then all of a sudden one day your husband's arrested, he's running scams, embezzlement, whatever it might be, now your life gets turned upside down. You're possibly going to lose all of your assets. This is why when you talk to Lisa Lawler, one of the first things that she'll advise a woman to do when a husband is under a federal investigation is get a divorce and start separating assets immediately, even if it's just for the legality purposes of it, because what happens when they take everything from you, stuff that was yours? They start pulling off wedding rings off of your finger as the feds are leaving. They're like, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and take that ring off of your finger. You know, that was one of the stories that Lisa told me, that this actually happens to people. And, you know, you have to kind of realize and wake up that if you were put into this situation by your loved one and your loved one is not willing to take responsibility beyond just saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this. Nobody means to get somebody in trouble. Nobody wants to see our loved one go through this, but these poor decisions and not focusing on the consequences earlier on when they were making these choices within their careers to try to advance their careers beyond necessity to a point where now they're into the area of breaking the law without telling you, and you think everything is fine, and now all of a sudden they're caught and they're crying like a baby and they're curled up in a ball. And you know, I think Lisa Lawler even used the terminology as it's like they look at you like they're coming to you like you're the mother and they want you to console them, and meanwhile you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm getting ready to be left out to dry with figuring out how I'm going to pay a mortgage when maybe you haven't worked in years, or there's all kinds of situations that can come from this. So if you're not taking an accountability action when your spouse or loved one gets in trouble, these are going to be your consequences where you're not going to know what to do and things are just going to get left behind again. So you need to kind of take control of your situation. You need to tell your husband or your wife what you're really thinking. You need to tell them what this is doing to you. You need to tell them how you're not sleeping, how this is affecting your day-to-day. If you have children in school, you can be sure that this is affecting your children. So by thinking that just because your husband or your wife might be going to prison and you feel like life for them is rough enough right now, and the last thing you want to do is burden them with the realities of the anxiety that you're dealing with, and you're going to hold that in, all you're going to do is build resentment. It's going to make you angry, and something inside of you is going to be telling you that this is not right. It's only a matter of time before that type of negative energy is going to burst out of you, probably not in the most healthy manner. So you really need to take ownership of this and start communicating what you're feeling. Even if maybe you don't feel comfortable saying it, put it into an email, put it into a handwritten letter, and start getting your words out as to describing what this is doing to you. And the person that you're giving it to may not be ready to hear it. They may get a little confrontational. They may try to blame others. They may try to deflect. But eventually, if you hold strong and you keep using assertive communication, eventually they're either going to crack and admit that you're right and then start to meet you in the middle and work with you communicating back, or they're going to take a hike. You know, it's, what is it, fight or flight, right? So if that's the situation you're in, you need to be able to do something about it, because no one is going to be able to help you other than you. And we see this all of the time. We work with so many of our clients and their families, and a lot of our clients have better relationships now with their families than prior to this federal indictment. And that comes through the open communication. That comes through allowing a bridge of process to really take place and realize that mistakes were made, situations got out of control, consequences weren't focused on, and you got so comfortable in the level, in the arena that you were in, that you no longer even felt like you were breaking the law. You know, the first time you did it, you made a small mistake or you turned a blind eye, you felt a little guilty about it, and then that kept growing and growing and growing. Before too long, it snowballs into a point where you've completely rationalized every irrational process or irrational thought process that you have. And if you're constantly going to rationalize why you should be doing things, you're probably convincing yourself to do something that you shouldn't have been doing. So you have to find the ability to listen to that little voice on your shoulder that says, no, this is the wrong thing to do. Sometimes doing the right thing is so hard and uncomfortable because you're not used to doing it, or just doing what's right in general. You know, we use little ideas all the time of what do people do when they're out walking their dog, and their dog, you know, goes number 2 in the grass and no one's looking. You're out in the park, you're out in the community, you're in an apartment complex, wherever you might be, and if no one's looking, are you picking up the mess? You know, that's really what matters. What are you doing when no one's looking? When people are looking, we tend to do the right things. We don't cut in line. We're not picking our nose when people are looking. You know, we're doing all the right things when people are watching. But what do you do when no one's looking? That's when your true character really comes out. And if you can start holding yourself accountable and giving yourself measurable exercises, ways to really maintain this, then you start to see your entire life improve. For all of you right now, they're going through crazy anxiety, and you're like, man, I don't know how to tell my friends. I don't know how to tell my family that I screwed up and that I might be going to prison. That anxiety that you're carrying on your back every night, that you're not sleeping and you're worried about what happens when people find out. Almost once a week, I get somebody calling me saying, is my job going to fire me once I take my plea? Are they going to find out? Chances are, yes, they're going to find out. Are they going to fire you? Well, that's up to you to a certain extent. There is a good opportunity that, yes, you may lose your job over this. But one of the things that we suggest you do is let them hear it from you. Break it down to them. Give them the explanation. And give them the real explanation. Don't give them some fairy tale, you're innocent, they're out to get you, because they're going to read whatever press release comes out. They're going to see it, they're going to Google it, and they're probably going to come up with their own reality of what happened. They may never tell you what they really think or feel, but the chances are they're absolutely going to know. So do yourself a favor and stop lying to everybody else, because probably nobody's buying your bullshit except you. and you've got yourself convinced that you snowed everybody. And really what it is a lot of these people are just tired of confrontation, or they don't want to have an argument with you, or they just know no matter what they say, you're going to deflect. So once you reduce this and you lower your guard and you allow yourself to be vulnerable, maybe for the first time ever, and you realize you don't have it all figured out, and you realize you might need somebody else's help to help you fix the situation that you're in. When you realize that there's things that are outside of your control and you just kind of give in, that's when you can start to process. And as hard as it sounds, the minute you start doing it, you feel just weights are just flying off of you. You're going to feel better than you've ever felt in a very long time. And this isn't just for the individuals that are going into the prison system. This is for the family members, the spouses. They are equally going through as much stress as you are. Yes, they may not be going to prison, but the fact that you are going to prison is completely altering the life that they knew. They will no longer ever be the person they were. You have taken what they knew completely away. You shuck up the globe. They don't know what to do. They don't know where they're going to land. You've caused so much chaos in your loved one's life that you owe it to them to take an approach that is uncomfortable and realize that maybe somebody else can give me some guidance and some answers, because the way I've been doing it got me to where I am right now. So if you're still going to continue to trust your own judgment and your best thinking is what's possibly landing you in prison, when are you going to realize that maybe your thinking isn't as good as you thought it was? Maybe it's out of control to the point where you don't know why you're doing some of the things that you're doing. You know, not everybody is going to be strung out on drugs. Not everybody can blame it on stress, alcohol, and drugs. If that were the case, everybody would be committing crimes every day. There's so many people that have no idea where a police station is. There's so many people who've never been in a police car. There's so many people that don't know what it feels like to have handcuffs on. These are people that know how to make good choices. These are people that focus on consequences. And when you start breaking little laws and saying, nobody cares about that, nobody enforces that, you're just justifying what you want to do to yourself. And the only person that you're possibly hurting starts off as just yourself. And then when shit really hits the fan, that snowballs and ripples out to everybody around you. If you're living in a high stress environment right now, if you and your loved one are constantly arguing and you can't get along and your sexual life is no longer existent, you guys are sleeping in the same bed but you feel like complete strangers, you feel like roommates, there's something, and that's not normal. Don't tell yourself, well, this is what happens when relationships get old and stale. That is not normal. And if you're telling yourself that's normal, that's you, one more time, rationalizing an irrational thought process. You have to be willing to work in your relationship. You have to be willing to communicate, give, and receive feedback. You've got to be able to listen. You've got to be able to understand what your partner is telling you, and you've got to be able to reciprocate that back to them in a way that is not going to be confrontational or undermining what they think or say. If you're going to take somebody's thought process of what they think and discredit it and tell them, no, you're wrong, you're going to eventually push that person into their box where they're no longer going to open up with you because you're constantly berating them and telling them they're wrong for the way they're thinking. So this is how communication works, guys. It's giving and receiving feedback. Spouses out there, whether you're the women of somebody going into prison or you're the husband of somebody going into prison, you have to voice your opinion. Do not wait until they're in prison, or don't tell yourself you're going to wait till they get out of prison. That's you just lying to yourself more and more, and you're not helping the situation at all. That's really all that I wanted to talk about tonight with some of you. I know a lot of you, this is beyond stressful, and I can only imagine how stressful it is for so many different people. People deal with stress so many different ways, and I know for Shelly and I, this was a real struggle, but we made it through it. And I feel like I don't feel like our relationship, I know our relationship is so much better than it's ever been, to a point where we've gone past the relationship phase to where it's boyfriend, girlfriend. We're best friends. We're best friends, and it's highest level that you can possibly view that. And not everybody can say that. So I can brag about my relationship. My relationship is awesome. And it has a lot to do with me coming into my own and really owning my shit and owning the mistakes that I made and telling her what I need to say and not worrying about how she's going to react. Do I want her to react good to everything I say? Of course I do. But if she doesn't, she doesn't. But at least I know that I said it from a point that I care about, and this is the same techniques that we use with our clients. And I hate to call them techniques because really it's a new behavior that I had to teach myself over years and years of practice. And it started while I was on pre-trial, got heavy in prison, and then RDAP really is what kind of solidified it and gave me a clear understanding of what I needed to do next. I was very fearful in RDAP. I was fearful that all of these tools and understandings that I was learning in RDAP were going to fall to the wayside when I released from prison. I kept telling myself, I'm going to forget all of this information. I'm not going to apply this. My old habits and old manners are going to reappear. I'm going to be the same person I was. I'm going to get greedy. I'm going to start focusing on immediate gratification. I'm not going to pay attention to consequences, and I'll probably end up in prison again. That was a realistic fear, but I had to take control of that fear, and I had to remind myself that, hey, I have the ability to change. Just because people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks is not the truth. Now, those old habits, they'll always be there. Those old tendencies to do things will always be there. But what you do with your day-to-day, how you practice, how you exercise your mind and your body, this is what gives you the ability to stay strong and stay in charge. And you can't necessarily do that by yourself. And if you think you can, that's when you're probably going to make a mistake, when you think you have it all figured out. That's why I still have my RDAP wristband on. It's something that I carry with me, and I'm so used to seeing it now. It's just part of me, but I constantly talk to you guys about it and just fiddling with it, looking at it, just reading. Community as method. That's what it says on there. Community's method. I read it over and over and over again. It's basically like my mantra, that I just say to myself, community's method, community's method, community's method. And when you start breaking this down, what does that look like? And it looks like what we're doing right now. It looks like I got bored, really awake, riddled with anxiety, thinking I can't go to sleep. I'm so stressed out with everything that I have going on in my life. So what I would say to you directly right now that's watching right now at almost 12:30 on a Tuesday night, what I would say to you is, what can you do different tomorrow that you wish you had done today? What are some things that you put off that you should have done today? What are some priorities that you keep pushing off? Right before I got on this call, you have your PSR interview tomorrow. What could you have done differently 3 weeks ago when you got this packet? Could you have had this done sooner? And how much more confident would you feel about going into your PSR interview tomorrow knowing that you took the time and the resource to put effort into that instead of waiting till midnight the night before to prepare it? Guys, making good decisions is not as easy as it sounds. You've got to start off with little easy decisions that you can hold yourself accountable to. And it might just start off with making your bed every day. It might start with getting up and making sure all the dishes are put away, that there's no dirty dishes in the sink. All of these good little habits that you can start creating. Maybe I should take the dogs out more. Maybe I should do the sheets instead of my wife doing them. Maybe I should take the bedding off and clean the bedding today. Give her a break. When you start making these conscious decisions to better your life, everything else falls in place. And it sounds so simple, but yet so many people just don't do it. I'm not going to lie, I've got a nice little mess going on right here that I could definitely tidy up a little bit. And I think I'm going to do that before I go to bed. But I just wanted to spend a few minutes with you guys. We've been on here about a half an hour now. I'm absolutely exhausted. Tomorrow is CJ's birthday, guys. So make sure you send CJ an email. Here's his email address. He's probably watching right now. So cj@rdapdan.com. Send CJ a mountain, and we're going to go snowboarding. So that should be fun. Probably going to. You're not allowed to say happy birthday to yourself. Look at CJ giving himself a happy birthday. But yeah, we're going to go snowboarding tomorrow. So Shelly said she's going to go ahead and make an appointment for me in the emergency room because I'm probably going to hurt myself. So Should be fun. I haven't been snowboarding in probably 15 years, and I live an hour away from one of the coolest mountains around. And we've been in Spokane now since 2015. I haven't done anything in the snow other than drive it and hate it. Drive in it and hate it. But tomorrow's going to be fun. We're going to go snowboarding. We're going to leave in the morning. So if you guys don't hear from me, if you got any questions, I will have my phone on me. Feel free to text me. I'll be checking my text messages periodically. But I will be out of pocket for a few hours, shredding some powder, man. Is that how I'm supposed to say it? But yeah, I'm going to have a blast, guys. I hope you guys have a great night. I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share this video, all that good stuff. And Samantha, hey, Samantha, there she is, making conscious decisions. Everybody give Samantha a high five. She's going through some rough stuff right now. High five, Samantha. Sydney, I emailed you, texted you, everything. My spouse is currently serving 60 months. Sydney, what did you email me about? I feel like you posted something on there the other day. I haven't seen what you text me. If you want to text me again, 509-434-4695, or shoot me an email, RDAP, and I have not seen any of your messages. So if I haven't responded, I apologize, but I would definitely recommend whatever you sent me, just re-forward it, and I'll definitely 100% get back to you and at least give you an answer. May not be the answer you want, but 100% I will respond. And there you go, Sydney. CJ just gave you his email as well. All right, guys, I'm going to go take a shower, go to bed, and it's Friday. I love every single one of you. As always, people helping people, communities method, one day at a time. And no problem, Sydney. Send it again, and I will get back to you. I know you're super stressed. I don't know what you're going through, but I imagine it's something very similar. Sydney, real quick, before I forget, in case you didn't see this, let me post this to you. Information. Definitely reach out to her. She has a group of women that connect, that are going through a serious situation with their husbands going into the prison system. So definitely take a look out at our website. There might be some valuable information in there, and it might give you a little peace of mind and reduce some of the anxiety. So you got to take that first step. And also shoot me an email. I will definitely respond to you as soon as I can. All right, guys, I'm out of here for real this time. It's like the third time I said that. You guys have a great night. I'm out of here. Peace.